Hey, welcome back. Today I'm going to show you in PHP code how to change the name and email address of what people receive from your website. And it looks way nicer just to have a normal professional looking one. So instead of the name of the email being WordPress, which just looks really bad, we're going to give it a unique name. And then we're going to change the generic email address that WordPress uses as well, and we're going to put in our own email address. Now this can be a real email address, or it can be just a fake one like a no reply, which is generally a non-existent email. The only thing is you must make sure that the email address that you put in is the same as the domain name that it's from. Does it make sense? If your domain is apple.com, then make sure that the email address is no reply at apple.com. So you have to do it like that, otherwise your email address is going to be marked as spam. So let's get started. So here in the backend, we're going to go into the theme editor. If you like putting custom code in a plugin, please use your own custom plugin. But again, in this example, it's going to use a theme editor. So we go to Appearance, and we go to Theme File Editor. When we're in here, we're going to choose the theme functions file. Here it's called theme functions. In other themes, it can just be called functions.php. Inside this file, we go all the way to the bottom until we find an open space just before the closing of the file. And this is where we're going to add the filters for our email. These functions are very small and they only need one filter each. And there's going to be two functions. One's going to be specific to the name, and then the other is going to be specific to the email address that we're going to be using. So let's start off with the first function, and let's give this one a name. So the name that I'm going to be using is custom WP mail from name. Now inside this bracket, we have to fetch the original name. So we're going to put that into a variable now. So the variable is original email from. Not that we're going to be using it, but it's just good to have it there in case of. And all we're going to have to put into this function is to return the new name. So what I'm going to be returning is just Miguel inside the single quotation marks, making sure just to end off the line correctly in PHP format. Then we make sure the brace is closed for this function. And now we're going to trigger the filter. And the filter is WP mail from name. So there's the filter. So we say add filter, we open up the bracket. Inside the single quotation marks, we say WP mail from name. You can see it doesn't have spaces, it has underscores. And then the next thing is the function name that we're actually calling. So from now on, WordPress will use the name in its emails that we have written here. So in front of this function, we're going to add a note just to say what this function does. Normally I actually start off with the note, but today I'm putting this afterwards. As long as it's there and then you can see what the function does, when you come back to this, it's all good. It doesn't matter if you start or end off with a note. So the note that I'm using is changes the generic WordPress email from name. It sounds a bit confusing saying from name, but that's exactly what it's doing. And then the next function call, we're going to change the email address that WordPress defaults to. So I'm going to put a note for that function quickly. And the note that I'm using is changes the generic WordPress email address. And adding notes is just a double / so that PHP knows to ignore that line. So the function name that I'm using is custom WP from address. So inside this bracket, we have to call in the address that WordPress normally uses. So the name of the variable that I'm using is original email address, and that goes inside the bracket. Now, with inside the function, all we have to do is return the new email address that we want to use. So the email address that I'm going to be using for this example is no reply at example.com. Now you have to replace that example.com with your real domain. So again, if it's Apple, then put apple.com as an example. Now we're going to add the filter so that WordPress knows to use this function. And the filter that we're going to be triggering is WP mail from. This is very similar to the one that we just used before, but that one was from name and this one is just from, and which refers to the email address itself. So there we go. So there's add filter. Inside the brackets, we say in single quotation marks, WP mail from, making sure there's those underscores there, and then comma, and then we call the function we just made. So now that the file is updated, so from now on WordPress is going to be using this name and this email address that we have specified. I hope you liked that little PHP snippet for our WordPress website. If you'd like to know anything, then just let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.